All right, here we go. Today we have Dominick Cicale, former captain and hitman for the Bonanno Mafia. Welcome to Vlad TV.
Well, thank you for having me, Vlad. It's a pleasure being here.
You have a very interesting story, so I want to start in the very beginning. So you grew up in the Bronx?
Yes, that's correct, in the Pelham Bay section of the Bronx.
Okay, what was the Bronx like in the 70s, 80s?
It was a neighborhood where you could keep your doors unlocked in the summertime. Kids in the street playing. Ice cream man would come around 9 o'clock at night. Everybody swarmed the ice cream truck. It was a nice neighborhood. Good time growing up. In my neighborhood, I was one of the younger ones. There wasn't drugs, drinking. It was just more family type environment where all your friends, neighbors, everybody was family.
Now, people in your neighborhood, they're affiliated with the Mafia, but no one was actually made.
Well, at that time, there was people made, but I was naive to the life. I was more into sports. And out of my neighborhood, I would say 95% were legit. So, there was a few bad apples in the batch, and I happened to be one of them growing up.
Well, your father and your uncle were not legit.
No, they weren't.
Yeah.
I grew up without a father, and my uncle also, they were with heroin traffickers.
Okay, so how old were you when you kind of were aware that your dad was doing crime?
Probably about 11, 12 years old. He actually came home from jail at that time. I was told as a kid my father was at college. He was away. But my mother and father were separated, so really when I would go visit him as a kid, I didn't realize it was a prison till later on in life.
Right, because he got locked up in the 70s.
Correct, yes.
Oh, what year? Do you remember?
I was about 2 years old, so I have to say 69,
70. Okay, he did 9.5 years.
Yes.
Okay, so essentially your whole childhood he was
correct
behind bars.
And back then, 9.5 years, people say, oh, he's going away forever. Meanwhile, this day and age, 9.5 years is a slap on the wrist.
Right. Now, what about your uncle? What was he doing?
My Uncle Peter, my family had a private sanitation business, Cicale Carting, which my grandfather started when he came over from Italy. And my uncle was working the garbage truck while my father was away, and then lo and behold, he got involved with drugs. He was close with Bruno, Anthony and Delicato, and then later on he was around Anthony Buat, who's with the Lucchese crime family.
Now, your dad nor your uncle were actually trying to be made?
I think my Uncle Peter had aspirations to be made. My father never did. My father was really a good person, where my Uncle Peter had a little violent side to him,
Okay. So how did you first start affiliating with the Genovese?
It happened by accident. My father was close friends with Ernie, and Ernie had taken a liking to me as a kid. So as I started growing up, he taught me how to box. He was grooming me, and I didn't even realize it at the time.
Okay, and the Genovese were considered like the money earners back then?
Till this day, yes.
Okay,
yes,
what made the Genovese different from the other families?
They keep old school tradition quiet. You never know who's really running the family. They put a lot of buffers up front, and they're very quiet with everything they do. Just lately, you heard there was some things in the newspaper, and that's really out of character for them, especially with their higher-ups.
Now, there was a situation when you were 17 where you got shot in the ankle.
Yes,
What
correct.
happened?
It was a neighborhood fight, and it actually happened in the Trog's Neck section by a pizzeria called Loretta's. And we were waiting. There was two people, a kid named Guy, whose father's Johnny Echo, who was a drug dealer back in the day. The father was away. And my friend was Blaze Rodolfo. And everybody's hanging out. We're waiting to see the fight. There was maybe about 100 people. It was the summertime. Guy pulled up maybe about a block away, started walking over, and he just pulled out a gun, started shooting at the crowd, at everybody. And I happened to get hit.
So did you even know who the shooter was?
We saw a guy coming, yes. Everybody knew. I'm lying on the floor bleeding. The girls, everybody's running around. Tell the cops, and I started yelling out, nobody tell the cops anything. And that was it. And they took me away in an ambulance and went in for surgery. Almost lost my ankle because of it, the gunshot.
Did you ever find out who it was?
Yeah, no, I knew from the beginning, and maybe about 3 or 4 weeks later, I was supposed to go to a sit-down. I never went, and my father caught me in the back of the building. I had a gun on me, my waistband. I was on crutches, and he wound up beating the crap out of me in the street. Gun came out of my waistband, crutches went flying, and I took my beating, and that was it. You know, he said, "How dare you disrespect me and not come to a sit-down?" I said, "It happened on the street. It's going to end on the street."
Right, because like you mentioned, the shooter was affiliated with the Gambinos, so there had to be some sort of...
At that time, we were kids, so really, nobody was technically... We weren't entrenched in the Mafia.
Right.
But they feared that I was going to retaliate. So right away, the father sent word to whomever, let's squash this. I don't want my son to die. And I felt, you knew it was a neighborhood fight. Why are you pulling out a gun? Why are you shooting at the crowd? You know, that was uncalled for.